Yesterday, I took 500,000 people to a place they'd never been before.
With one app, we've financially empowered enough people to fill a city.
It's like my startup has taken on a life of its own.
Every day we help more and more people find something they can't live without.
I can literally slow down your pulse.
I fundamentally changed the nature of reality.
I've drawn 1 million gamers into a fantasy world. I'm not sure all of them want to come back.
Last week, I promised hundreds of thousands of people a better life. Today, they're obsessed with it.
There are things I've done with data you would not believe.
It's like you can take the data,
Twist it and transform it.
It's off-the-scale innovation.
They call it customer engagement. I call it connecting. Really connecting.
I made someone believe in themselves for the first time ever.
Today, I started a revolution. Now it's your turn.
Well, how about that? Wasn't that terrific? I have to say I've seen that video more than once, to be honest. And I have to say I love it more every time I see it. You know, when I first showed it to a few people, they said to me, Peter, that sounds great, but who are these people? You seem to have very beautiful customers. I said, all our customers are beautiful. Trust me. But more importantly, these are actual customer stories. The stories you were just hearing about, representing all those different types of businesses, business opportunities, and the type of people are actually a reflection of people like you, people that have actually done something amazing. And we like to talk about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And we hope that we are helping you, whether you consider yourself to be ordinary or extraordinary, to be able to do more than you ever thought that you could do. And in my section this morning, I'd like to talk a little bit about what's changing in our worlds as it pertains to our businesses and, more importantly, our customers. How are the lives of our customers changing, and what is it that we need to do in response to that? We're going to share some stories this morning about some of those transformations, some of those revolutions. And as Matt says, the focus here is not on incremental improvements. It's very striking to me that the expectation is so high about the possibility of change in the digital era. And yet the level of disappointment is also very great. And it's extraordinary that that is the case, but it tells me that there's something fundamental that needs to change, something that has to be radically different for a different set of outcomes. The definition of insanity, I think we've heard it many times. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. You're not going to see a radical change unless you are bold enough to try something new and different, perhaps something that no one else is willing to take a risk on. And I think we're going to find, as we hear some of these customer stories, that that can start very small. So as Matt pointed out, we surveyed 450 senior business and technology leaders, people like yourselves, over the last several months. In fact, the majority of those were here in Europe, in the UK, in France, and in Germany. And what we discovered from that research was that actually all of them, pretty much all of them, believed that the most important aspect of digital transformation, and there's not many organizations on the planet that are not focusing on digital transformation today. I would argue those that are not are the ones that will be disappearing from that S&P 500 over the next few years. But for those that are, the central focus of that digital transformation is ultimately about the customer experience. And that is why we are 100% focused on delivering those exceptional experiences and enabling you to do that. We're very proud to have announced the industry's first engagement database, a database designed for this purpose. And I want to just say a couple of words about why we're using this term customer engagement and not just customer experience. Well, it's because the reality is that for us, customer experiences tend to be moments in time. But what matters to us all is the consistency of experience. When we're working with our favorite supplier or app, the critical component of that is the ability to have the same high-quality experience over and over again. It's a succession of consistently positive experiences that adds up to what we call customer engagement. And at the end of the day, we tend to be driven by brand and brand loyalty. We get to know a brand and we have certain expectations of that brand. You know, I'm a chief marketing officer. I spend a lot of time thinking about what promises does our brand make to our target customers? And are we living up to those promises? We've set a pretty high bar already this morning. When we start to talk about customer euphoria, we're putting that bar pretty high up there. So we have to be thoughtful, just like you have to be thoughtful about what it is that you're doing with your brand. Whether it's your personal brand, your personal reputation that is at stake, or whether it's the reputation and the brand of the organization that you work for that's at stake. We all care about that. And ultimately, we want people to have confidence that we're going to be able to take them forwards into the future. And the reason that that is so critical, as Matt pointed out, is that we all know what it's like when we've had a single bad experience. It can be enough to turn us off that particular app or company for the long term. And here's some data that supports that. The reality is there's a massive gap between companies that do it well and companies that don't. And you know, if you're in business for yourself, or if you own a part of your business that's about customer acquisition and customer retention, I will tell you this, I think customer retention has become the key business battleground of our era. It is so easy for customers to switch, to find someone else to go and do business with moving forwards. And the bar has been raised to an extraordinary level because in the digital world, the reality is the first company that offers a new way of doing something, a new level of service, is the company that raises the bar for absolutely everybody. And that's why industries as diverse as retail and healthcare and banking are all essentially looking for that next move from the digital disruptor. And if you're not the one disrupting, the likelihood is you're probably the one being disrupted. So customer retention is at the heart, I believe, of the business battleground in our age. And I had a recent experience which I thought I would share with you concerning a car purchase. Funnily enough, Matt was talking about purchasing a car. This is actually not the car itself, but it's the brand of the car that my wife drives. And she has been leasing one of these Volvos for the last several years, and it came to the end of its lease period. And so she decided that she'd like to replace it, and she's actually quite loyal to this brand, so she'd like to replace it with another one. So, hence our journey started. We're at the dealership, we're placing an order for this new vehicle, and because it's the next year's model, it's not available to be supplied right now. There's going to be a gap. It's a gap that's several months from the end of our current lease to the beginning of this new car arriving. So we thought, it can't be that complicated. We'll ask the dealer to contact the financing organization, which is also part of Volvo, Volvo Finance, and take care of that for us. Not so fast. No, I'm sorry, we can't do that. You're going to have to contact them directly. Not thrilled about that. So, of course, I get the job of calling the finance organization on my wife's behalf. Could you just do that for us, Pete? Oh, sure, no problem at all. I'll find, 3 minutes in my busy day to make that phone call. Well, I wish it had only been 3 minutes. 20 minutes later, I'm talking to an agent who's telling me that I have to fill out a form to be able to extend this lease. I said, that's no problem. I can do that right now. Why don't you fill out the form and I'll just give you the information? Oh, no. It doesn't work like that. No, we have to send you the form. Okay, great. Let me give you my email address. No. We can't email you the form. We have to mail you the form. Okay, send me the form. Oh, and then you have to fax it back. I said, you're kidding me, right? They're like, no. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you have a fax machine? Oh, yes, we've got loads of fax machines. I said, no, not your company do you have a fax machine? Because if someone asked you to fax them a form, would you have anywhere to go to do that? Because I last had a fax machine about 15 years ago. I'm sorry, there's no alternative. Can't I just scan it and email it? No. You've got to. I ended up taking it to UPS, and they charged me $1.50 a page to send this form back. Eventually, I get a confirmation in the mail. Now, ask yourself this question. If you are the brand manager at Volvo, creating this next generational experience, what do you think has just happened here? Your finance arm is now really trying hard to persuade this customer, loyal customer, to find someone else to go to. So we should acknowledge this is not easy. It's not easy, I think, for several reasons. Here's one of them. Sadly, we are now competing for the attention of a goldfish. Well, let me put it slightly differently. The attention span of a goldfish is now longer than a human being. It's fact, people. I'm not making this stuff up. The research has proved that over the last 5 years, our attention span has reduced from an average of 12 seconds. So I lost you a long time ago, I know. But I'm working really hard. I'm working hard to get you back. And here it is. This is us. From 12 seconds, it's now only 8.25 seconds. The goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. So now we are losing to the goldfish. The attention economy is my alternative expression for the engagement economy. It's about staying connected. So that's challenging. But here's another reason why it's challenging. It's challenging from a technology point of view. The fact is that most of us wish to engage using technology, and the technology is not helping us get it right. My little story from Volvo is a sign of a company that's trying really, really hard. The fact is that I could have ordered that vehicle online without talking to anyone, just as Matt outlined. And yet the rest of the process didn't live up to the promise. And that's so often our experience, isn't it? Because the apps that we interact with so frequently fail to be as good as they really need to be. The answer is not to design more and more beautiful apps. It's to fix the underlying issues. And those underlying issues so often come back to the data. The availability of the data, the relevance of the data, the freshness of the data is what informs and inspires the app that we all want to work with. And something fundamentally is changing, which is making this very, very challenging. The reality is that for most of us, the databases that we have implemented inside our organizations were designed to solve a problem that is now the smallest part of the challenge that we are facing, not the largest part. Because our databases were designed to capture and store the transactions that our customers created with us. Whether they were purchasing something or making a choice, we wanted to securely store that information for the long term. And that was fine in the old world. But in the new world, interactions are now where it's at. We spend a lot more of our time interacting than we do transacting. Every time we click on a link, we like a tweet, we start a game, we make a choice, we enter a search term, those things are interactions. Making the online payment is the last stage in that journey. That's the transaction. And in reality, the ratio of interactions to transactions is now so great that in reality, the system that's designed for the transaction represents less than 1% of the data that we're now needing to handle. In fact, it's becoming close to 0.1% of the data that we need to handle, because 99.9% of it is now associated with these highly dynamic interactions. So 1,000 to 1 is the ratio you should have in your mind. And that's already becoming outdated and is moving towards 10,000 to 1. So that's a significant challenge, and it's actually associated with multiple industries. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about e-commerce, where we're concerned to review many different options for us, or whether we're talking about travel and hospitality, when we're looking at different flights and different transportation options and we're reviewing our loyalty card programs, or whether we're talking about digital media. How many options do you review before you decide what you're actually going to watch? So in each of these different areas, we're seeing exactly the same challenge. And I think it's worth stepping back for a moment and just asking ourselves, what is it that causes today's digital transformation projects to fall short of their expectations? I think Matt shared the statistic, 90% are considered not to have lived up to the promise. And I would contend that there are two primary reasons for that. The first is that our traditional approach has been to try to leverage the systems that we've already had in place, those transactional database systems, relational databases in the main, and they simply have fallen short. They are inflexible, costly, and they just don't deliver those rich customer experiences. We're trying to force something to happen that's simply not going to happen because they were never designed for that purpose. So we've tried to fix it. And what we've done is typically implemented a whole range of point solutions. We've added a caching layer. Maybe we put in a key value store. We've got a separate search engine now. And as this proliferates, we've created this extremely complex environment. It's not easy to manage, it's not agile, and it's starting to get in the way. It's time for a new solution. The solution we call the engagement database. Very deliberately, we're positioning it as complementary to those existing transactional databases. Over time, we fully expect more and more workloads will migrate from those transactional databases, but they will not likely disappear, even in the long term. Think about mainframes. When personal computers came into being, even departmental computers, there was a lot of predictions that mainframes would be gone within a short period of time. Well, they're still with us today. They do a job, but they do a job that's very narrowly defined. That's exactly how we think the transactional database will be going forwards. So the engagement database really is a game changer. In fact, we would argue it changes everything because it allows you to think completely differently about how to solve the problems facing your business. And we would contend that there are 6 key attributes that you should be looking for as you evaluate the alternatives available to you in the marketplace. The first thing is it must be cloud native. Actually, about a third of our Couchbase customers are currently operating our database in their public cloud environment. It needs to be cloud native. Why? Because of the importance of data mobility and data locality. We need flexibility in where we are storing and making data available to us. We need seamless data distribution. We need backup environments where we have continuity of availability. Seamlessly mobile, because does it make any sense at all in this day for web and mobile IoT applications to be housed and supported through different databases? Of course not. It needs to be a single embedded environment that supports an offline first availability of data. It needs to be smart. Full text search, built-in real-time analytics, real big data connectors, providing a complete integrated ecosystem. It needs to be built for change because unpredictability is now the nature of reality for each of us. Do we really know how it's going to go? We probably don't. So the ability for us to scale out without concern or consideration. Elastic scaling is absolutely central. It needs to be always on and always fast because that's what our customers require. There is no space or place for downtime today. And finally, secure. The old perimeter-based security policies are outmoded and outdated. Today's data needs to be secure on the wire, on the device, in the cloud, and at the edge. So 6 core attributes for an engagement database. So I want to spend the last part of my presentation talking about 5 customers. 5 customers that are transforming their worlds, arguably starting a revolution in their own businesses. This is one that will be very familiar to you if you live here in France and across Europe today. Carrefour, facing unmatched competition, one of the largest companies in the world in this space, transforming the way that they are supporting their customers with Couchbase. Differentiation through personalization of the customer experience. What about this? Europe's favorite airline, at least that's how they describe themselves because of the number of air miles that they support. The fact is that they have significant growth in their business and they are focused on ensuring that they can deliver an ever-improving customer experience for their customers, a better booking experience. This was a company that built the app to solve the online booking problem and discovered that the app was creating its own challenges and problems. We were able to dramatically improve the performance of that application to improve the experience for every customer. Those customers saw customer experience at the core. This customer, BT, saw tremendous benefit through cost reduction and faster time to market. Innovation in the space is fierce. The ability to provide a fully localized and customized solution to all of their subscribers, over 150 million of them in over 180 countries. Their existing environment simply didn't scale, didn't provide the performance required, and resulted in a poor experience. They were actually very successful with their product, and that exacerbated the problem because the increasing growth in subscribers simply degraded the performance for all of their users. Replacing that environment with a Couchbase solution has dramatically transformed their business in that fiercely competitive environment. And my final two, seeing tremendous benefits and cost reduction. This is a company that actually started with a competing product, implemented 300 nodes of Mongo with Redis. Simply couldn't scale, couldn't deliver the experience at that scale, and our ability to uniquely consolidate that caching layer and that database layer was the solution that they needed to be able to support what is now 12% of all mobile devices in the world are running that Viber app. A very, very successful business indeed. And then finally, in the high end of the retail space, Tommy Hilfiger doing what I think one of the most exciting things out there in retail today, building digital showrooms. The ability for them to shorten the time between showcasing their new products to their retailers and being able to deliver products to the store, delivered for them a benefit not only of reducing costs, but also improving their impact on the environment. It turned out it meant not having to create garments and ship them around the world to all of their showrooms, actually reduced significantly their ecological impact. This solution allows them to scale quickly and easily, and by the end of next year, they plan to have 25 of their digital showrooms up and running. So I hope that's given you a little taste for the kind of dramatic ways that it's possible to change the environment and your own industry. And I think it's worth just saying again what we believe a revolution to be really all about. Our definition is it is all about being a dramatic and far-reaching changes. It's about doing things that are transformational and doing it in a way that sparks a chain reaction. And the reason that we have a focus around that is because of the beginning. The beginning starts so simple. A single idea, a single conversation in a coffee shop or in a conference room is enough to make something amazing happen. And as we thought about how we could bring that to life, how we could demonstrate that, we had some fun in a studio with a bunch of paint-filled balloons. Enjoy this little visual of what it looks like to start a chain reaction. A single, simple idea that builds based on someone's vision of what's possible, of what can be, with leadership to drive through that change, passion and energy to pursue it, to confront the skeptics and turn it into a result. That's really what we stand for. We're here to help you turn your idea into a transformational change, to deliver not just improved customer experience, but to change radically the perception of what's possible in your world for your customers. We're so excited to have you here with us today, and I want to thank you so much for making the time to join us online or in person. I'd like to hand over now to my friend and my colleague, our own Chief Revolutionary Officer, CTO and SVP Engineering is his real job title. Please welcome on stage Ravi Mehren. Thank you so much.